Hello and welcome to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learnt something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
I'm Buzz and we have back in the studio...
Sarah.
Sarah Downing is back in the studio, our specialist.
What are we going to talk about today?
Yes, Sarah, what have you come in to talk to us about?
Coming to talk about the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
The Beast of Bodmin Moor. There's a movie quote there.
If you enjoy the Now We Know show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes.
I would have thought that most people in the UK have heard of the Beast of Bodmin Moor because the tales of the beast go back quite some time. So I'm going to start off there. Where does it stem from?
Okay, the first reported sightings were about 1976. So early 1970s.
Okay, so it's not a story, you think of the beast. It's not something like the black dog or something like that.
Like some kind of demonic thing.
It's not something that goes back centuries that is kind of being hooked onto the modern day Beast of Bodmin Moor. It's literally the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Yeah,
is from the 70s.
The first sighting was 1978.
Okay.
Farmer claimed to have seen a large sort of black cat sort of killing a sheep.
Right, so it's kind of like
like
a panther-like.
From the beginning,
cat
we're talking
thing.
big cats.
Yes.
Right.
We know some people that like big cats.
Yes, we do.
Several people.
And so the Beast is a great thing. The Beast of
Bodmin Moor.
It's a great
Good
title.
name. Good name.
So this has been fascinating the general public and the media for obviously decades.
Yes.
So what do we know about this?
It's generally thought to be sort of like a puma or sort of puma-like animal, which usually sort of quite large. It's larger than anything we would have had native in this country. Certainly, that's one of the theories, that it was a remnant of sort of a big cat that was here historically, but other than links.
What you mean historically, as in actually lived in the British Isles?
As a native. Which we still have sort of Scottish wildcats.
Yeah, I've heard that we've got Scottish wildcats, which they are very much a protected species at the moment because they've started to accidentally interbreed with domestic cats.
Yeah,
and
which is causing a lot of problems. Actually,
yeah, I've read that's had an offshoot. Maybe you can fill me in on this. I read one article which said that, and I can't think of the name of it. They've got a name for this offshoot from the Scottish wildcats and the domestic cats, which is a bigger than a domestic cat, but it's also dark in its fur up in Scotland, and there's a name for it. I can't think what it is.
Can't remember because
sort of like a larset or something. It's kind of like a mutation between the two, which people think they've seen. Anyway,
Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Yes.
So there's been about sort of 40 sightings or so since the first one.
That's a decent amount.
I mean, why do you think that? Since that Bodmin Moor is renowned for hikers, ramblers these days, probably wild campers and all the rest of it, that it's so elusive that nobody's actually like. Again, we've talked about the British Bigfoot, we've talked about Dogman, we've talked about all sorts of cryptozoology, and a cat that is kind of the size, as you described, as a panther. Did you say?
Puma.
You would think that perhaps you'd see that more.
Most animals are pretty elusive anyway, unless they're habitualised to humans and they're used to being around people.
Right.
Most animals will actually run away if they see or sense a person.
They see humans as a threat rather than a prey animal.
Yeah,
Right,
I think probably big cat-wise the only, well, apart from maybe lions that are used to people. I know cougars will take people as well, but
aren't they women that are over 45?
Oh, good grief.
Sorry.
Well, different type of cougar.
Isn't it a lot more plausible, though, that it could be this kind of escaped animal or something and not this kind of supernatural kind of spirit that we've kind of talked about with these type of things before?
Because some people have sort of thrown in the hat that it's not a physical thing, and that it's a supernatural creature.
Thing. Whereas I think it's probably more plausible.
I think it's more plausible to
that
be.
It's an actual thing.
Actual big cat. The am I right in thinking, was it about 1976 they brought in laws about the ownership and selling of exotic pets in the UK?
Yeah, the Dangerous Wild Animals Act came into effect in 1976, which put legislation in place sort of how our animals could be protected, sort of kept. When I did about it at uni, we saw videos of large cats kept in like large dog crates with the door held shut with a clothes peg.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Which
Well,
you can see how things would escape.
because of my age, being a bit older, I kind of have a recollection that even places like Harrods used to sell exotic pets.
Yeah, I did work experience at a wolf centre, and the guy who ran it, his first 2 wolves he had were advertised in the back of an avian magazine.
Now, were these the wolves that you mentioned that were in American Werewolf in London?
Yes.
Wow, you've been hobnobbing with the stars of, of
brilliant.
one of our favourite movies.
His girlfriend at the time kept the wolves in her flat in London for a while.
Sorry, what?
Hang on, this is crazy stuff.
No way.
And that was all perfectly legal at that point.
Yeah. And you got to work with them, did you?
Yeah.
Were they particularly...
Those 2 wolves, I believe, died by the time I did the work experience there, but
Right.
they had sort of about 7 wolves at the centre, which unfortunately is shut down now. But
So what did... I don't want to jump forward to those wolves. What I wanted to ask you was, when you actually interacted with those wolves, were they kind of more domesticated? Were they used to human
they were
interactions?
they were used to people.
Okay.
I had to do a minimum 3 weeks experience so that I could go in the enclosures with the wolves. They used to do meet and greets with members of the public, so the wolves would be on chains and you could sort of
Wow.
So
they used to do walks with
Yeah,
them
you don't
and
really
things,
imagine
but-
that
So-
now, do you?
going forward to what I was about to say, when you say it closed down, did it close down because the last of the wolves passed away? Or, I mean, what did they do with the wolves?
The wolves, I believe, went to the Anglian Wolf Centre.
Right.
But just before I started work experience there, the gentleman who set it all up, who owned the wolves, passed away.
Right.
I actually went along to his funeral as part of
Oh,
that.
bless.
And he was involved with all the local hunt and had wolves. And
So I suppose in that instance, going back to that legislation that was brought out in '76, that if you're a pet owner and you suddenly realise that there's too many hoops to jump through because you've got this exotic pet and you decide you're just going to let it go, if you had something such as one of those wolves, because they're quite used to human interaction, you'd expect that they'd actually maybe even seek out and come close to humans.
yes.
Whereas we're not getting that kind of thing with the Beast of Bodmin Moor, are we?
No, so probably had fairly limited contact with humans, although saying that they're probably... Because, one of the potential causes of the existence of Beast of Bodmin Moor is in... Actually, it was sort of round about the time of the first sighting.
Right.
A woman owned a zoo down in, I think it was Plymouth, somewhere on the south coast, and her zoo had to shut down, probably for sort of the introduction of the new legislation. And her 5 pumas were supposed to be transferred to a zoo in Devon.
Right.
Only 2 turned up.
Ooh.
All right.
They had apparently 3 escaped en route. And then that's when you sort of
Were,
get first
were,
sighting.
were they ever found? Do you know any more about that?
I don't believe they were ever found.
So,
So that's potential. But I believe that it was a breeding pair amongst those 3.
Oh.
because that's where I was going to
So
go.
there is the
Potentially-
potential there.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because if you've got the Beast of Bodmin Moor, this wild cat, large feline predator, if it was first spotted, did you say 1976 or 78?
78.
78. So a couple of years after that legislation came in, the same cat wouldn't be around now, would it?
No.
They're definitely not. I don't know what they're like. Do you know what their lifespan is?
I'm not actually sure what the lifespan is. With most animals, it's usually longer in captivity than in the wild. So,
But you've got obviously weather conditions and things. Because would a cat like that be used to survive through the winter period?
pumas are sort of a jungle cat, but
I mean, there are some cats that live in snowline and live in the snow, but
yes.
but I suppose they could adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And we don't get really heavy winters. I mean, we had a heavy winter through the 70s. We had a couple of good old hits of weather, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
obviously, cats they can take cover. There's plenty of probably areas of that you could disappear into in the moorland down that way. Fascinating.
So derelict buildings could probably offer shelter.
Well, there would be a lot of old farm buildings and things, wouldn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
So, on that point, what would this big cat eat or seek to eat?
It will be livestock, so
Livestock,
sheep,
okay.
Deer, wild deer certainly. I would imagine probably rabbits occasionally if they can catch them, but wouldn't provide a full meal. They'd need to.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research. Okay, so I don't know what maybe you can feed back to me on this, but on the eating side of things, deer especially, because that would be their main natural.
And they're quite prevalent.
Well, I mean, I think statistics that I read said that if you had a wild big cat population in the UK, you'd need to sustain breeding, etc., and territory. Because they usually roam around. Is it about 50? This was in kilometres. So about 50 square kilometres would be a territory for a big cat. But they said that in the whole of the UK, because there are sightings of big cats all over the UK, would be about 300 big cats in the UK. In comparison, because you know me, I'm Mr. Deer. I love my deer. I'm always out deer spotting.
Wait, are you a big cat?
No, I'm not a big cat, but I love. I really like deer. You see, and I'm always tracking the biggest species of deer in our county to see if they're moving around. And you've got about a population at the moment of around 2 million deer in the UK. So if you had a population of 300 big cats, they'd have plenty to feed off of on that. Interestingly enough, on the livestock side of it, again, not saying that they don't take livestock, but I read an article where a farmer felt that his livestock were being attacked by a big cat or possible, wild dog or something like that.
Species unknown.
A species unknown. But he'd found carcasses. And so what he did was he dipped half his flock in some chemicals or something to do with their fleeces. I can't remember exactly what, but the other half he didn't. And the ones that he dipped, and disinfectant, it was a disinfectant he used on them, and they weren't touched when the other ones were. And then when he dipped the lot, that it went down. And speaking with big cat experts, he said because it's that chemical smell, they reckon the cats would only attack livestock if their normal prey, such as the deer, are scarce in the area or the time of the year, because winter time you still have a lot of livestock that go out, but the chemical smell whatever was killing them.
Did that mask it, or
it seemed like it was a deterrent that whatever was attacking the sheep
just didn't associate that smell with prey.
So, and then you mentioned about the rabbits. In between times, they called that. This big cat expert said that that's their snacking food. Small preys like snacks. Whereas if they take a deer down, that will give them they'll come back to that carcass over a period of a few days. That'll last them for a good period.
So how big is a puma?
That's a good question, and that was what I was going to ask Sarah as well. For the listening public out there, we keep mentioning puma, but can we kind of maybe describe what
a panthery leopard type thing?
I think one of the recent sightings said it. They'd seen sort of a large cat, sort of about 4 foot.
Okay. What is the natural size of a puma, and how do you measure it? Is it nose to tip of the tail, or what?
I believe it's usually nose to tail. I'm not actually sure how big a puma is. Certainly, sort of size of a sort of grown adult easily. I would have.
And how would that go with? I mentioned the word panther has been sort of thrown out there as well. So. Because the sightings, am I right in saying that they tend to be of black cats?
Yeah, usually black cats. I think there's been a few sightings that have sort of people thought were sort of more tawny.
Sort of like lynx style colours.
Yeah, but it's usually bigger than what a lynx would be. So.
Again, another statistic. I'm jumping with statistics. It said that over a period of a year, because they do get reported all the time.
Yeah.
About 80% describe them as being large black feline.
Yeah, which is probably where
and the other 20%
insinuation of being the
describe
panther
them
comes
more
from.
lynx-sized coloured cats. So is a panther bigger than a
puma?
Puma, that's the word I'm looking for.
I believe so. I'm not great expert on big cats. It's not something I come into contact with in my day job.
Yes.
Well,
As far.
Yes, thus far.
But you are an expert when it comes to tracking these things and keeping up to speed with them, and that's why we've got you in. So, with the sightings, where are we at? I mean, is there any chance that somebody's ever going to actually definitively get one of these on film or camera, be out there video? Is there a concern for wild campers out there that they could suddenly get attacked in the night?
There's certainly been some sightings sort of this year.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
One was in, I think it was April or May. Sort of mid-April, man recorded.
Well, that's really recent.
Yeah.
Because we literally only just come out of May.
Definitely on topic.
Yeah, on topic.
Yeah.
And was that down at Bodmin Moor area?
Yes, I found a video online.
Oh, right.
That shows a
Describe
cat.
it to us.
It kind of looked bigger than a house cat, but the tail was a lot longer.
Right.
He apparently showed it to his friend who sort of knows big cats, and they thought it was a jaguarundi, which is a South American jungle cat.
Right, okay.
So...
Would you know that if, obviously we've mentioned a few names of different types of cats that possibly could be in the UK, is it known, what jumps to my mind is, you know what a liger is?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a cross between a tiger and a lion.
Yes.
So is it possible you could get into breeding with different breeds, or are they really, really only going to breed with their own?
Most sort of crosses like the liger and that, they are actually sterile, the offspring.
Right.
Because they're not natural.
I was just wondering if we might be seeing sort of like some hybridized cat. So it's it's neither looking quite like one or quite like the other.
It's like Jurassic Park. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. We do like our movie quotes.
We do.
I suppose most things you can't rule out crossbreeding. I mean, they are felines.
That's why we need to find one.
But
We can do a Now We Know show live from Bodmin Moor.
Yeah, one of these days we're actually going to get out somewhere and have some really good fun.
Yeah, we can all take our Lavus and like camp out.
Lavu Fest.
Lavu Fest on the
Double
moor.
Trouble podcast.
Night vision goggles.
Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah,
Very good.
We could stake Sarah out.
Oh,
Yeah, there's our.
Oh no.
Just put sheepskins on you.
Say bah.
just hollow if you see anything.
Hoot twice like a barn.
One's like a brown owl. Sorry, Sarah.
No,
We're getting off track a little bit there.
I thought you were apologising for staking me out for a minute.
Well, I hadn't quite envisioned it quite that way, but obviously,
That's how it came out. It did sound like
I was
that.
thinking more of like Jurassic Park. You got the
What, a goat?
the goat or the tether. I'm just actually like.
I'm not sure if that's better or worse.
Sort of like staking her out on the ground.
What are you trying to say?
Yes, I don't know. It's all got a bit wrong.
It
now.
has. It really has.
Okay.
Right,
Back on
back
track.
on topic. Yes, so and then April, and then I believe it was May. Someone found some hairs on a fence next to a field where some
The notorious
sheep
hares.
had been sort of slaughtered,
Right.
and that DNA has come back as large cat.
Right.
Ooh.
And a specific breed?
The article I read, they didn't say.
But
The
it's
people that put it in for DNA testing are actually filming a documentary at
Right.
the moment.
Ooh, interesting.
so and that was
I
100%
imagine
positive.
That was 100% positive for big cat.
Right.
Wow,
So,
that's pretty conclusive.
That's conclusive. Which leads me, for somebody like myself who's out in the countryside and likes my tracking, and obviously you're there as well, obviously we see tracks.
Yes.
So have we not got any evidence of actually seeing large paw prints anywhere?
Um,
Or 'cause obviously cats mark their territory by scratching and also urinating. So I mean,
And we learnt that from the cats episode we did.
yeah,
a few
it
weeks back.
might not be. If you could get a sample of fresh urine, if you could see at a distance some cat marking its territory, but
Yeah.
what's more likely to happen is you'd see trees and places that are being continually marked on a cat's territory. Have we not got any evidence of that?
I don't think any recent investigations have been done. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Foods did one in 1995.
Okay, well, that's quite a while ago.
Yeah, well before sort of DNA testing and that. They didn't find any conclusive proof of big cats being present in the area. but they didn't find anything to rule out the presence either.
Right. It's a bit ambiguous, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but
I mean, you
slightly
yourself
ambiguous.
deal with having to deal with samples that go off for DNA testing, don't you?
Yes.
So is it something that anybody can get done these days?
Yeah, there are online services. I think they have they compare it to sort of animal DNA that they've got
Right,
on record.
on
So
record.
I suppose all the kits I deal with are.
That maybe would answer a question that yes, it's big cat, but we don't have any specific breed of big cat that we can nail this down to.
Yeah, it's really interesting with this because obviously there is evidence to suggest that there is something there.
I would definitely say it's
So
pretty
there
conclusive.
there is a beast
You got
of Bodmin Moor. It's not in question. There is one.
Unlike the other cryptozoology things that we've
like
discussed,
Bigfoot and things.
and the Dogman, which are all, there's evidence, and there's some very strong evidence pointing towards these things, but a lot of it can be circumstantial, or a lot of it can be just, is that a mistaken, like Glenn said, you can look at a log in the dark and think that something's staring at you out of the bushes, and it's actually a tree stump,
Yeah, I've done plenty of newt surveys where I'm looking into a pond and thinking, is that a newt, and waiting for it to move, and then discovered it's a leaf.
There's an elf under the water with a lantern. No, don't go near it, Sarah. Don't follow the lights, no.
Yeah, so things can look like.
I mean, well, this is a good
Yeah.
point. I mean, you've been an ecologist now for many, many years.
Yes.
And you spend a huge amount of your time compared to most people out in the countryside, all different weather conditions, all times of the year, and especially late at night and in the early mornings. So, you think if anybody's going to see something out of the norm, it's going to be you. So have you seen anything that's made you suspicious that you might have seen something to do with an animal that you didn't expect to see in the wild or anything like that?
No, I haven't come across anything. I remember speaking to someone on a survey. I can't remember who it was, and they were saying they were out doing a survey, got out, dog wouldn't get out the car. I think that was
that actually is an area we haven't discussed.
Yeah,
What's that?
I believe there had been a big cat sighting in the area close to that
Ooh.
time.
Do you know where this area was?
I can't remember. It's
Right.
quite.
So
a
was it
while
our part of
ago,
the country or?
I really
Yeah,
couldn't.
so-
So would that be to do with
Well,
like
that's
the
it.
dog consents?
Yeah, I mean,
things?
because
with a scent?
that's one thing that I've read up on. That of course humans are really kind of blinkered to what's going on around them. Every day, people, especially these days with mobile phones or joggers with headphones on and things, they don't see what's right.
Tunnel vision.
Don't see what's right next to them, what's coming up behind them, or anything like that. I can be down by my little riverbank down by the brook and have people walking past completely oblivious that there was a man standing there watching them, and they don't notice. And I'm down there having a coffee, what's my
Enjoying
property,
your time,
enjoying
yeah.
time, and they just walk past and don't notice, this big lump of a man sitting there. And you think, well, this is it. But what I do notice when people walk past and they've got the dogs with them, the dogs pick up on me straight away, and they're looking, and the owners are just come on, because they're not interested in what the dog's looking at. And that's the point. The pets are the ones that start acting weird. Yeah.
I mean, as humans, we only sort of take in about 10% of our surroundings. We take in more when we first go to a new area, and then after that, our brains are more sort of comparing as to what was there. There's a really interesting experiment. Probably find the videos online. They asked an audience to count how many baskets that one team made during a netball match.
Oh right, I was thinking of
basketball match,
wicker
yeah, no.
baskets.
And then
Making
went
wicker
to them
baskets.
afterwards, how many of you saw the gorilla? And they're all, what gorilla? Guy in a gorilla suit
Oh.
walked on and shoot a couple of baskets, and nobody had seen him because they
So
were
it
all
didn't-
busy counting,
Didn't register.
Wow.
and it didn't register at all.
What an
So,
interesting experiment.
Yeah.
As you say, we pay very little attention to what's around us.
And maybe that's because we live in what we would consider every day a very safe environment.
Yes.
As creatures, we don't go through our daily lives worrying that there's a predator that might suddenly.
Yeah, and we've kind of
Come on.
lost that
We've lost that instinct.
Yes, exactly.
But obviously, even domestic pets still hold on to some of that, whether it be a cat and they're listening and picking up on the rustling of mice in the bushes or birds flying around. They keep their eye on them, and they've got that natural hunting instinct.
well,
but
you-
we're kind of
Well, you say
a bit
that.
dead in the water.
You say, well, talking about water, I kind of get that when I go into the sea for wild swimming, and I can't see like the bottom.
I remember when
Does
I
that
took.
make sense?
Yeah, we went down to south. We were on the south coast of Cornwall,
Yeah.
weren't we? And there was one. You've just reminded of that time when we went out into some deep water. Okay, because we do coastal swimming, so we're in our wetsuits and we've got our drag floats with us. And I'm not going off topic too much, but
It is on topic.
that kind of sixth sense of being aware of what's around you. Now, I've swum in deep water before, and knowing that I think there's been more shark reports in the UK in recent years of sharks that we don't normally have in our waters, but usually around the south coast, around Cornwall, you have small sharks. Nothing that's really going to attack a person. And you get basking sharks, which are more put off by
they're
swimmers
large,
than we should be worried about the basking shark. But that was the thing. We were in that deep water.
It was quite choppy at the time.
It was
wasn't
quite choppy. We were riding the waves, and then you come down and you're under the water. So you've gone under the water. You've got your dive mask on, and you've got to arrange, because of the silt that was in the water. You've got to arrange probably about 20 to 30 feet before it then just blankets out into this nothingness blue, and it's that point is when your mind starts to race, and you think that something could come out of that blue.
And there's literally nothing you can do
because you're there. You're this little ape that's out of your natural environment, bobbing about in the water, and like if something big comes towards
well, that's
you.
the thing. I don't necessarily think of like a shark in that scenario. I just think of just like a big mouth or something.
You're thinking of the Beast.
The Beast
from 20,000 Fathoms. But no, you're right. But for example, if you're up in Scotland, it wouldn't be out of sorts to actually see killer whales in the north of Scotland if you were out around the islands and places like that. So one's that's it, your primeval self starts to kick in those instances. And as a climber, and you're a climber, if I'm climbing and I've got my climbing gear on and I'm tethered and I know that I'm safe and everything's on, I've got my anchor points and everything, and I'm abseiling, I could be abseiling off a 200-foot cliff somewhere, and it doesn't really faze me because I know in my mind, boom, we're good, we're safe. But if I walk up to that cliff with no safety harnesses on, I immediately get that wobbles of my sixth sense is telling me this is a danger zone, don't go in it. And that's probably, with human beings, that's probably why horror movies do so well when it comes to the night.
Yeah, and darkness.
Because that's probably the only realm.
Because you don't know what is.
That's the only realm these days where people really do feel out of their comfort zone, because naturally, primordially, from that primal time of living there and being cave dwellers, the night, it has the predators that you can't see. And that's why horror films, I think, do so well on that, because they play on those jump scares and the fears that were there. So it's going back to on topic with the animals, they still, even though domesticated, they still have those heightened senses a lot more than a lot of the owners do. So, why is my dog acting weird? What's going on here?
Because there's a giant puma over there.
But we've had that, because am I right in recalling when we did about what is a ghost with
Mickey
Baldwin? Again, I'm sure in that podcast we covered that animals, household pets, can react to things, be staring at a staircase or what's going on,
type of thing.
So you don't know exactly what triggers these senses, even in a domestic pet. But we're coming back onto the topic of the big cats. That's something that, as you said, Sarah, that can pick up on things.
Pretty much everything you said. And night vision compared to like a dog is
Oh.
I'm saying that our senses compared to a dog are
Oh yeah, we're
ridiculous.
dumb creatures that are basically cannon fodder if we were out in the wilds.
Oh no.
I mean, this is true. I mean, you get people that, but that's kind of been bred out of us in where we live,
Right.
and that's why I think when you're going out and you're hikers, you're hiking across Bodmin Moor.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are wearing their high vis
Yeah.
cagoles and stomping around. Any wildlife is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, and it's not going to go
There's
near
no
you.
subtlety to it at
No
all.
subtlety to it, and which is a bit of a shame because a lot of the time people go out and they go, I want to enjoy nature. I want to see nature. I want to sit on a rock
Experience
and
it
experience
type of
it. And nature's looking back going, I ain't coming anywhere near you, mate. No
Yeah.
way. Because
Danger.
It's probably one of those reasons why, a lot of people say to me, why are you always walking around in camo? And it's because I kind of like,
It's immersion.
I just disappear into the background when I'm in the woods because that's when I know that I just have to sit up against a tree, and within 5-10 minutes, anything that's nearby has forgotten I'm there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting there with my bright orange cagoule, or with my blue
Spotted a mile off.
with my blue pop-up tent next to me or something like
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't
but-
have to just be camouflage as long as you don't look human shaped.
Yeah, that's what I say. If you lean against a tree,
Yeah.
you become part of the tree. Yeah, and but not saying that other human beings that live on our planet don't have far more heightened senses than we do, because they're living in jungle conditions. South America, out in the Polynesian islands,
Yes.
Yeah.
Africa.
Or they've got risk of larger predators.
Yeah, like
as well.
course, yeah.
the Hadza tribe that are nomadic in Africa. They hunt and they walk literally through prides of lions and things. But
Yeah.
the lions have associated them with, well, no, we don't really want to take them on because they've got spears and things. They see them, like you say, humans as not a prey item, but doesn't mean a hungry lion or a hungry animal of any sort is going to, and what happened with the thinking of with America when we get all the people travelling over from Europe to America and then starting to go out into the far reaches to work their way across the states. The pioneers is the word I'm looking
There we
for. And of course, you get to the winter time and they're being taken out by packs of wolves and everything because they're easy prey, aren't they?
Definitely.
So we've got our puma or panther or whatever, and I'm assuming, Sarah, that it's the reason we don't see it is a combination of our dulled senses, the fact that we stomp around making so much noise and being very visual, and obviously they're just naturally great at being elusive and camouflage in the environment. Yeah, would that really sum up why we're not seeing?
Much.
I mean, it's very hard to see something that's black in darkness.
Well, this is true, but I mean, if it's staying undercover during the day, but you do get that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? And this is stupid because I should know this. Animals that active both at dusk and at dawn.
Crepuscular.
Crepuscular.
Yes.
That's the word.
That was the word of the week one time.
It was the word of the week.
I do love that word.
Let's all say
a good
together.
word.
1, 2, 3.
Crepuscular.
Yeah. So you get, and I would have thought that a big cat hunting and everything is going to probably use those at the prime time.
Yes.
And
definitely.
if you've ever been out and about in the woods, especially any environment where the background is all broken up through bushes, trees, rocks, grasses, and things. At
walking
that
through
time, our human eyes
forest at night is
really
just crazy.
it's hard to focus on anything
Yeah.
really. You could literally walk past a big cat probably. It's just, and you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
It's
so easy to lose yourself in
So,
a dark
yeah.
forest.
So I'm not surprised. Although, again, going back to the original sightings, you would have had way less people out on those moors back in the 70s, compared to today. So has your research, Sarah, that's shown an increase of sightings over the years?
There's not sort of any sort of statistics on sort of number of sightings sort of by year. There's just sort of a general sighting, sort of number of sightings. But yeah, the statistics on that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of comparing it to the Loch Ness Monster. You see the mythology of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
And there was that, was he a saint or just a monk that went out onto Loch Ness to banish the serpent monster from the loch? and cast holy water into the loch because there was a monster in the loch.
Oh no, I think we're gonna have to do a
Yeah,
Loch
we
Ness
have to do
Monster
a lot.
podcast.
I'm pulling this out of the back of my mind. And then that's kind of the beginnings of the mythology of the Loch Ness Monster. But of course, as we come through the years, then the sightings, there's that famous photo which I think has been debunked. Was that in the early 30s or 40s?
I think I saw it on the TV earlier today.
Did it really?
Yeah.
But then as we come along, you get a lot more sightings. And
Yeah.
I suppose now we're living in an age where
Technology.
everybody's got a camera, a video camera in their pocket, things like that. You kind of
It's so much easier.
You kind of expect to see an upsurge, and as I say, there's more people going out into the countryside. But then, of course, a big cat, out of probably all creatures, is the one that's going to be the most adept at disappearing.
But also, part of it could be people seeing what they expect to see. If it's just, cause general household cat, still mostly sort of.
And again, perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been going out on reptile surveys, yeah?
Yeah.
And you were saying that you pulled out this wonderful bit of kit for getting the
the forensic
photographic
graph.
scale.
but that was so you can get the right scale to what you're looking at. And again, that's the problem. If you get just a bit of video or a photograph, there's nothing to scale.
Yes.
And
but I mean, also there's a lot more exotic sort of domestic cat breeds as well. So you could get something that doesn't look like a standard house cat that is still a domestic cat. It's not potentially
a big cat.
A big cat, but from a distance, it might look that you know it's a small cat. You might think, well, it's further away than it is.
My advice to anybody listening to this: that if you're out, you suddenly, this is not so easy if you're doing it by yourself. But if you're out and about and you've got people around you, and you think that you are seeing a big cat or something unusual, Dogman or whatever, get somebody to run in front of the camera. So you've got some kind of scale, because that's the problem with all these videos. They never put any kind of scale reference.
Oh, have you seen that picture? I think it's
just stand there while Dogman walks up behind you.
It was like
just stay there. It's all right.
That actually reminds me. Do you remember the Land of the Lost?
Buzz said to do this.
Land of the Lost. They had a bit with the T-Rex. They tried to do that, to take a picture. It's like, quickly stand in front of the camera whilst the T-Rex
is running towards them. I need it for scale.
That brought up a picture that I saw on Facebook of like a fossilized kind of ancient turtle.
Oh yes.
That had obviously been bitten by like a megalodon or something.
Oh yes.
And then it had a man lying where this bite mark was, and it said like Rodrigo for scale.
Rodrigo for scale.
I just found it really funny.
Rodrigo has got his place in history now.
Yeah.
Rodrigo, is that where we go? We measure the megalodon's jaw bite size by Rodrigo.
How many Rodrigo?
How many Rodrigos fit in this place?
Is there any record of how tall Rodrigo is?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a standard unit of measurement.
It's a Rodrigo.
One Rodrigo.
2 Rodrigos. That's it. We're going to have to introduce using Rodrigos now.
That's interesting, because we're obviously talking about Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Yeah.
That brings me back to a piece of creative writing I did. I think it's for English language or something, that was based upon the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but
Remind us.
I had to write, based upon like a certain scenario, a short story of an encounter with the aforementioned Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Right.
And I believe, from what I can recall of it, it was a reporter in a car going to research the Beast of Bodmin Moor, was driving along a road, and then this creature came out onto the road, and subsequently what ensued after that, I can't remember. But yes,
fail.
I mean, you say that, but I got a good mark.
So with the Beast of Bodmin Moor, Sarah, is this a creature that would have a lair, or would it be more nomadic? And if you've got a colony, are we talking, would you have one male to X amount of females? And if they are obviously having a litter, I mean, how does that all work in this scenario? Because we can't be talking seriously about a single cat that has been since the 1970s, as we've already said. So
unless it's that supernatural element.
You've kind of got to have this rotation if you've got a breeding, ecosystem there where
Yeah.
cats are breeding at some point. And I know obviously if you have a reason animals have a litter of a few,
Yeah.
it's because not all of them are going to survive. So you
Hmm.
kind of wonder why nobody's managed to take a snap of the beast being followed by 5 little ones.
Other beasts.
You know.
Yeah.
Have you got any feedback on that?
I mean, I don't know if big cats do it, but certainly a lot of animals will leave their young while they go off hunting.
So they would
so
need some kind of safe lair.
They
then.
usually usually have like maybe a lair for sort of while they've got young, but potentially won't have anything the rest of the time of the year.
They're more nomadic.
Yeah, so more nomadic.
So this is kind of a stupid question maybe, but for those people listening in, with a big cat, would it literally just hunt out somewhere like a cave or a hollow under a large rock as its lair, or are they something like, I mean, the foxes and things dig their own, what's the word for a foxhole? Can't think of the name. Earth, that's it. Thank you. So foxes will dig out an earth. Badgers will dig out a badger set, you know. And so I don't think cats would do that. So we're really talking about an animal that is utilising its environment
Yeah.
at specific times of the year. But again, do you think it would come back to that? Is it somewhere it would take the prey and you'd find like a small cave or somewhere that's then filled with bone litter?
I believe most of the time they sort of eat it in situ, and
Right.
I think the
Actually,
only
that's a
time
good
they sort of
point.
take it
No, that's a good
elsewhere
point.
for caching if they
Hence
haven't
why you
eaten
mentioned
it all,
earlier. Yeah, you mentioned earlier about the
Discovering the carcass.
discovering the carcasses. So they're eating there and then leaving the carcass
Yes.
rather than dragging it away. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So you wouldn't really, therefore, expect to find a pile of bones in
No,
a cave.
I mean all the sort of things you read, they suggest it's a puma, but hunting strategy changes amongst the big cats. I mean, I've mentioned cougar; they will cache kills in trees out of reach of other
Yes.
predators.
Yeah, they do
So-
that in Africa, don't they? You get the leopards and things. When they make a kill, they'll take it up the tree to keep it out of the way of the bigger threats, because obviously a leopard is a threat, is being threatened by lions. I think even packs of hyenas will attack leopards,
Yeah.
but so hence get it up in a tree to try and
Yeah,
keep it
but I
away.
suppose if there's no risk of anything else taking its prey, it won't necessarily
Yeah.
need to do that.
Do you think
so-
a big cat like the Beast of Bodmin Moor would kind of know by now that it's the predominant predator of the area? I mean, it's not ever bumping into anything that's a threat. So therefore,
Yes,
it's probably
alpha predator.
Yeah, it's the alpha predator. It's probably not even concerned. You know, it can move away from thicko humans so easily. You know, as they're tromping around with their two double walking sticks, going, "Yeah, look, I'm out in the countryside." You know,
They're just umbrellas without the actual
Well,
umbrella part.
I know. Made out of aircraft grade aluminium.
It's
Yes.
the springs that get
I
there.
know.
I'm like,
Ergonomic springs to take the shock out of your walking. You know.
just use a stick.
Just use a stick, guys. Come on.
Come on.
If you go walking and you want a walking stick, coppice a stick that you can coppice and keep coppicing and doesn't damage the environment. You're out in the wild. Don't take walking sticks that are made from aircraft grade aluminium and that have been produced by the millions out of a factory belching smoke out into the atmosphere so you can go and enjoy your country walk.
You can go and dump it on Ben Nevis.
Yeah, as we pick the debris up on the way down to all these flipping broken walking sticks.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the wild camping episode.
Yeah. Enjoy the countryside. My stick's broken. I'll just leave it here. Anyway, sorry.
Use a stick.
Little rant there. Use a normal stick. That's what they were created for. Anyway, yes. So our pumas are being elusive, but they are definitely there.
Yep, that certainly looks like it from the DNA.
So the DNA. So does that mean that we potentially must have a colony?
Not necessarily a colony. Like I say, well, like you mentioned, sightings have been going on for a while. So there's potentially there's been some sort of breeding going on, but
would that, depending if going back to that story of only 3 escaped, surely there would have to be more that came into the mix. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of interbreeding, and that could obviously cause a lot of genetic problems.
Well,
probably not for a generation or
Well,
two.
could it throw up more rather negative genetic
Possibly.
mixtures, but as you said, nature finds a way. So if you've got weaker ones, they're not going to survive. But if you've got ones that have, this has got particular adaptation.
And obviously, after time, speciation can occur, and you become adapted to environment.
And to your environment as well.
Yeah, obviously, this is only the 1970s we're talking about. So,
I mean, just because there was potentially 3 pumas we know that did escape doesn't mean there hasn't been other escapes or
going
releases.
Going back to that legislation, if you had a lot of people that have the exotic animals, and they go, well, we can't keep them now. I mean, what did you had? Not only zoos, but remember back in the day, we all had circuses that were going around everywhere, which had wild animals, so they had to get rid of them somewhere or other.
Yeah, a lot of the big estates used to keep wild animals.
Yeah, of course.
One of the Sherlock Holmes novels, the Speckled Band, they had lots of exotic animals in the house.
Isn't that the one with the snake?
Yeah,
good one. I read that at school. Yeah,
but
it was a good one.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I believe the character in that, he kept monkeys and big cats on his estate as well. So
obviously, it was so prevalent, this exotic animals, that they thought that this bill was necessary.
Right.
So it was so prevalent.
Victorians were
notorious
for bringing in lots of exotic species. We've actually got over 3,000 exotic species in this country that are non-native that have been introduced.
Well, I mean, you just need from where we are in Bedfordshire. I mean, you just head down to Elstree, half an hour down the road, and you can't escape the flocks of parakeets that are flying around everywhere.
I know
and that's
there's
just for me. It's kind of like a really weird thing to suddenly see parakeets squawking and flying around.
Yeah, well, there's apparently a wild population of grey-necked wallabies in the Midlands somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I have seen or heard of reports over the years of wallabies being loose around Woburn. Whipsonade. Yeah, because of Whipsonade Zoo.
Yeah.
Because they actually used to let them bounce all over the white lion up there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the white lion on the side of Whipsonade Zoo is fenced off.
Yeah.
But the wallabies had free range to go over all this, and there have been reports in Ashridge Forest that there are wallabies.
You mentioned Woburn. I remember going to Go Ape, and there were like wallabies bouncing around that I did not expect to bump into whilst going on Go Ape.
They are quite free roaming, the wallabies.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that was a creature that could pretty much adapt to our.
Yeah, because initially I thought it was deer, but it wasn't. It was wallaby. I was like, hang on a second.
I mean, we live in across the band of Europe and North America. If you looked at a map where we are, we're in temperate rainforest, aren't we? Basically, so any kind of animal that can adapt to those conditions, through that will allow them to survive through the summer period and the winter period is just going to have a field day. The only difference is in the UK is we don't have any decent sized forests.
Yeah.
But something like a big cat. And I mean, we do obviously have wild boar back in, I think, Kent and where's the other place I'm thinking of? Down Ross on Wye area, is it? Forest of Dean.
Yes.
Yeah, Forest
they
of
are
Dean.
around.
Yeah, so we got the wild boar have been introduced into some places, but I think people get to see those quite a lot because the wild boar aren't so elusive. They don't really care, do they? Wild boar.
No.
They'll chase you off if you get too near.
Yes, I remember. I'm not sure if it's someone told me or I read it about joggers being chased by a wild boar.
Yeah, so
jog and
wild boar.
I'll get you motivated in the morning.
They should do. You get a zombie run you could get on your phone. Where you get chased by zombies. They should do a wild boar one. It's like
Razorback.
Razorback. It could have all these exotic animals you got to get away from.
Do you remember the film?
The film Boar? Was that
one.
the recent one that I got?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to see that. It's this hybrid giant wild boar in Australia, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Australia.
It's in the outback.
And it's going around just like murdering everybody.
Yeah.
And this thing is as big as you can imagine a North American bison.
It's huge.
It's huge, massive big tusks on it. But it's
a good movie.
It's a really good movie. And they did a really good animatronic wild boar. Yeah, the big one. A really ugly thing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just look at the front cover of the. I'll stick a poster up.
Stick a poster up. But so we do have the wild boar, but they're not really bothered by humans and more likely to chase you off. But a big cat, seeing that it's not seeing us as a predatory threat, it's just more slinking off and disappearing. I suppose that's the thing. Cats can just go low. Any I would imagine any grass that's your height's there of waist height.
Yeah, so waist height.
It's going to be lost.
Yeah.
So do you think therefore, if you've got cats on Bodmin Moor, which basically are the Beast of Bodmin Moor, that if they're breeding, that because cats have got like with any predatory animal, they've got to have their hunting ground. What's the word I'm looking for? Their territory. Thank you. That they would actually keep sort of moving out of the country, moving away from that and spreading across. Is that why maybe we get sightings in other parts of the UK?
They will. Any animal will move if there's not enough prey in the area where they are currently. But yeah, I mean, there's been sightings of big cats in Kent and Scotland. Do
we get anything in the Middle England where we are? Because I always find that everybody else is having all the exciting stuff around, and we don't get.
There's sightings in Norfolk of big cats, but nothing. I think that's probably the closest. It seems to be some more sort of isolated rural areas where the sightings are occurring, which would make sense for sort of any sort of elusive prey trying to avoid humans.
You say that, we've got a few big cats.
Well, yeah, they're rather more like fat cats.
Yeah, very fat cats.
Very fat cats.
I'll stick up a picture.
So let's put ourselves into the scenario that you're out walking on the moors. Okay, maybe you're by yourself. Maybe you've got a friend with you.
Well, but we can take Jack.
Yeah, take Jack. You haven't got any pets with you, so you've no early warning system. If you suddenly came across the Beast of Bodmin Moor, one of these large cats, what would your advice be if you're suddenly like, oh crap, I've walked around a corner and there's one just sitting there?
Cover yourself in disinfectant.
Back away slowly. Never run from a predator. Most of them have sort of.
Is this from experience?
No.
Being chased by an angry badger.
Most guidelines are, things like wolves and that, they have prey insect. Something runs, they'll chase.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen a cat with a piece of string.
Yeah.
Maybe carry a ball of string in your pocket to distract it.
Yeah. Or just take a laser pointer.
Oh, laser pointer. That would be perfect.
Especially
laser
at
pointer.
night. There you go.
It's like, quick, laser pointer.
And maybe if you can make friends with it, you can use it to target your enemies.
Another Jurassic World reference, that one.
Yes, it is.
So back away slowly.
Back away slowly is probably the safest.
Slowly take your camera out, video it, and stick. Was it Rodriguez or something? Rodrigo in frame.
Don't worry, it's for scale.
It's for scale, Rodrigo. Stand there while I back away.
Pocket Rodrigo.
Yes, you just whoever you've got with you, whatever your friend's name is, they suddenly become Rodrigo.
Oh dear, I'm definitely gonna have to find that photo.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a sort of standard joke. You don't have to run fast, and whatever's chasing you, just fasten the guy next to you.
That's it. Yeah.
That's in the zombies.
That's always in the zombie
one. Always make sure that you befriend people that are very unfit.
Oh, crikey. That's a massive flashback to our third episode of zombies.
Yeah. Decoy targets. The benefits, we should do that. Benefits of decoy targets. Oh, brilliant. Well, fantastic. So are we going to round up with... so we have definitely got DNA... positive proof. The beast exists.
Apparently, 100%.
Because this is what we wanted to hear today. Yeah, we wanted to hear everything we do. We have a lot of conjecture in the subjects that we cover when it comes to cryptozoology. And there's never any specific, solid. That's evidence you cannot deny. But the Beast of Bodmin Moor exists.
Yep.
So now it's just a case of somebody getting some really good footage of it with Rodrigo. Hey, there we go. We've learned that today in the Now We Know show. We definitely have wild big cats in the UK.
So that brings us to the point in the podcast where we share quote of the week.
Oh, do you know about this?
No, I don't.
Oh, we switched over now.
From word of the week to quote of the week.
Quote of the week. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a quote...
Could be anything. Doesn't have to be related.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be related.
Have you got one, Buzz?
I have got one.
Because I've got one as well.
Oh, right. Would you want to go first?
Okay, so this is a quote from the series Truth Seekers from the episode The Ghost of the Beast of Bodmin.
Ah, so it is related.
It's quite a long quote. What is your best guesstimate for the size of this cat? 6 feet nose to tail, give or take. It's a big boy. Eat, that's a big boy. What say we head down to Cornwall and capture ourselves a big cat? Fook that. No, on video. We do it on video. Oh yeah, that's all right then. There we are.
That's your quote. Truth Seekers, isn't the one with thingy from
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost, yeah, that's a good series that was.
I hope they do a season 2.
I feel as if I'm letting the side down with my quotes because I always go for sensible quotes.
Well, at least you have quotes.
although my
One of
best
the first ones I've had.
although my best quote was that one from the Daily Star, wasn't it?
Oh, crikey.
It was
Oh,
about-
aliens spiked my muffin or something. I can't
Muffin?
remember. No.
Yeah, or Weetabix or
It
something.
was food of some description.
It's really bizarre. Anyway, I'm not going bizarre. I'm going, but it's kind of related.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll see when. Okay, this is my quote of the week. When you find out that you can live without something, then go through the rest of your life not thinking about it. And that's a quote from Baloo in the Jungle Book.
I was thinking about Jungle Book earlier.
So it's a
Weird.
sensible one,
Yeah.
but it has got that kind of jungly-esque.
You do realise
connection.
Baloo's the bear,
Yeah, he's the bear.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't really get one for the panther, What's
which
his
is
name?
called
Some Bagheera. Or
correct. Well done.
something? Yeah, so I couldn't get any quotes for him. But anyway, Baloo, there you go. If you find something that you can live without, then don't go through life thinking about it.
Very well.
Okay, there you go, job done. What about you, Sarah? Can you pull one out the hat?
What a Baloo.
And Baloo,
Did read something funny the other day.
go for it.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Do it.
A couple of tourists over in America, sort of in an area where there was risk of bear.
Yep.
Bought some bear spray. They thought that you just would spray on like deodorant.
That's not quite how bear spray works.
No, they thought it was like mosquito repellent.
Oh dear.
That's it. We'll
Sounds
spray
like-
ourselves, and that's it. No
Oh,
bears will
dear.
come near us. Yeah.
Were they ever found?
I don't know, but
Oh,
yes, that
well,
made me
that's
chuckle.
a very humorous note to finish on. Thank you for coming back in the studio,
all right.
Sarah.
It's been
been
fantastic.
fascinating finding about the Beast of Bodmin Moor and the fact that we have got proof that it exists.
Would you like to come in again?
Yeah, definitely.
Yay.
I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but I'm sure we'll find a topic.
Oh,
of
we'll
some sort.
find
yeah.
something for you to come in. Oh, you've got to come back and do witches.
Yeah, I'm sure I can put something.
We
together.
want to know all about witches. I'm fascinated with Pendle Hill, the history of Pendle Hill and things like that. So, yeah, the history, and you've got the Witchfinder General and all sorts of stuff, and
Yeah.
relating.
Clop Hill. Wasn't there like a witch cult or something?
Could well have been.
Near
This
us.
is what we can find out about.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Teaser. We'll
maybe
consider
we'll
that
look
a teaser.
about to the history of witchcraft in the UK and the mythology and maybe how it stands today.
We'll put it on the list.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Sarah.
That's
You've
all
been
right,
brilliant.
It's been fun as always.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. That's
The Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Goodbye from Zak.
Goodbye from Buzz.
Goodbye from Sarah.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today.